In this video I'm going to be showing you how to build the plane and also gain access to Pack-a-Punch on Mob of the Dead. Some bits you will need and also need to know before starting this is you will first of all need the Warden's key. If you don't know how to get the Warden's key, I will link down in the description as well as the pinned comment that will explain how to do that. And you also need to be aware of your afterlives. The afterlives are the little blue symbol that you have on your HUD when you're playing the game. You'll need to be aware of this as you'll need to use some of these afterlives in order to gain access to some of these parts. So to start off with building the plane, in order to build the plane you're going to need to get 5 parts scattered around the map. They're in the following locations. First part is the control valve. You can find this inside of the infirmary. This is inside of the room where the dog head spawns for the Hell's Retriever. To gain this part all you have to do here is simply walk up to this cabinet and use the Warden's key to unlock it, and then you can pick up the part. Now depending if you're playing this in solo or co-op, if you're playing in solo then in the solo game you'll be able to pick up every single one of these plane parts all in one go, unless you are playing in a custom match, in which case you will only be able to pick up one part at a time. If you're playing in co-op then each player can only pick up and hold one part. Once you picked up a part you will need to head over to the plane on top of the roof and actually put that part onto the plane. In order to gain access to the roof, inside of the room where the dog head spawns where you just picked up the part, you'll see this afterlife box over here on the wall. Simply activate this. Once you spawn into afterlife, simply run down the hallway here and you'll see that one of these doors will now have a little passageway through it. Walk into that passageway and do a jump and you'll climb up onto the roof. When you climb up to the roof here, simply run over to the door that leads up to the roof and electrify this panel, which will then open up that door to the roof so you have access to it. Once you've done this you can then go and revive your body. After that simply go through this room here and up the staircase and over to the plane here and craft your part onto it. And of course any other players that are playing in a co-op game will need to craft their parts onto the plane as well if they wish to pick up any other parts. The next part is the shirt. You can find this down inside of the washing room. When you come into the washing room you want to come over to this cage here and use the Warden's key to unlock the door. Once you do this, come over to the back of the washing room on the opposite side of where the washing machine is and you'll see an afterlife box on the wall here next to the wall by. Simply activate the afterlife box to go into afterlife. Once you're in afterlife, head over to the caged area where the washing machine is and you'll see over here on the wall is a voltmeter. Zap that and this will power up the washing machine. After that, go and revive your body. Once you've revived yourself, head over to the washing machine and interact with it. Once you do this, the room will go all misty and you will notice that zombies will start spawning in and trying to attack you. Simply just kill all these zombies until eventually the washing machine is done. Once the washing machine is done, the room will no longer be misty and you will see that the shirt will be available for you to pick up. The next part is the wires. To get this you will need to come down to the Citadel tunnels, and if you come down to the bottom of the Citadel tunnel shaft you'll notice there is a number pad here. Use your Warden's key to unlock the number pad, then head back up to the top of the Citadel tunnel shaft and you will notice an afterlife box on the wall here. Activate this to go into afterlife. Then once in afterlife, when running back down the shaft towards the number pad, if you look at these metal walls along the way down you'll see that they'll have numbers on them. Bear in mind the numbers that you'll see in my gameplay here will not be the same as the numbers that you'll have in your game. This is always random, so make sure you make a note of what the numbers are for you. There'll be 3 of them on your way down. Once you know what your numbers are, you simply want to shot these numbers into the number pad at the bottom of the Citadel tunnel shaft in the exact order that you saw them in while running down the shaft. Once you put in the exact numbers that you need to, you will then want to run up to the top of the Citadel tunnel shaft and revive yourself. Once you've revived yourself, you then want to head to the bottom of the Citadel tunnel shaft and then from the number pad area just run over down the right here, down the staircase, past the mini Uzi wall by, take a left at the bottom doorway and then run down this corridor here all the way down to this metal cage door. Use your interactive button to open the metal cage door and then you'll be able to pick up the wires. The next item is the gas cylinders. Now this is slightly different depending if you're doing this in solo or co-op, so I'm going to explain it for solo first and then I'll go over co-op in a minute. So in solo you want to head down to the docks and run over to this metal cage door here. Use your Warden's key in order to open up the metal cage. You will then want to find an afterlife box and use it. Once you're in afterlife, go back to that metal cage that you just opened up and you'll see a voltmeter on the wall. Simply zap the voltmeter and this will open up the next metal cage door. You can then revive yourself. Once you've revived yourself you can then go and pick up the gas canister. For co-op players, head down to the docks and open up the metal cage with the Warden's key. You will now want to have one player stand inside of that metal cage area and then another person go and find an afterlife box. The person who's used the afterlife box will now want to run down to that cage area and zap the voltmeter on the wall. Once they do this, the person who is not in afterlife can then walk through into the next area and pick up the gas canister. Once they pick up the gas canister, they will then want to go back into the previous metal cage they were in, and then the person in afterlife can zap that voltmeter once again again, and this will open up the cage door so that the player who has picked up the part can now escape the area. And then finally, the person who's in afterlife will now want to go and revive themselves. And then the final part is the engines. In order to gain access to the area to get the engines, you will need to do two things first. Come down to the docks and come to the generator room, and inside the generator room use this afterlife box to go into afterlife. Once you do this, you will need to zap 3 generators in the room. You can zap this one next to the entrance doorways here, then coming from that, come over to this one in the center of the room here and zap this. And then finally turn around and go through this secret doorway here all the way around, and you'll notice the next generator just there. Zap that. Finally, once you zapped all those generators, you can go and revive yourself. Now that you've done the generators, you will now need to go up and gain access to the Warden's office if you have not already done so. In order to do this, simply go outside the Warden's office and use this afterlife box to go into afterlife mode. Once you've done that, look up here on this walkway. There will be a little hole that you can jump through that, run down this corridor and then take a left and run down this staircase, and you'll see a voltmeter here on the wall. Zap this and this will open up the doorway so you have access to the Warden's office. You'll now want to go and revive yourself. Once you've revived yourself, head into the Warden's office and go straight down and turn to the right here and use your Warden's key in order to open up this metal door. Once you do that, you will see that the engines are on this table. Interact with those to pick them up. Now that you picked up all the plane parts, you want to head up to the roof and craft those parts onto the plane. Once you've crafted all the parts onto the plane, you can then use your interactive button on the back of the plane in order to get onto the plane. Once you get onto the plane, you will go through a little sequence where it will fly off of Alcatraz prison and over to the Golden Gate Bridge. Once you get to the Golden Gate Bridge, the players will fall off of the plane onto the floor of the Golden Gate Bridge. Once this happens, they will then have access to the Pack-a-Punch machine. Once they're done upgrading their weapons on the Golden Gate Bridge, they'll notice at the end of the bridge will be 4 electric chairs that have spawned in. They simply want to walk up to these electric chairs and sit in them, and what this will do is this will send them back to Alcatraz prison's spawn area. There'll be an afterlife. They simply just need to go and revive themselves. If they then want to gain access to Pack-a-Punch once again, they'll need to wait 1 full round, and then once they do this, they will then need to go and find some fuel canisters this time to place onto the plane. These fuel canisters are basically in exactly the same locations as before. So the first canister is inside the infirmary bit on the roof inside of the room where the dog head is. It's just in front of the cabinet that you opened up to get the part earlier. Second canister, if you come down to the washing room, just sitting outside the cage area where you activated the washing machine earlier. The third part, if you come to the bottom of the Citadel tunnel spiral where the number pad is, you'll find the canister in front of the number pad there. The fourth part, if you come down to the docks and come over to the metal cage door, you'll see that the fuel canister is just there on the floor. And the final part, if you go into the Warden's office and go into that hidden room from before, you'll find the fuel canister in there. Once you got all the fuel canisters, you go up to the roof and simply just interact with the back of the plane, and this will refuel the plane. After that, the player can then use their interactive button on the plane, and they'll get back on the plane and have the same sequence as before, where they fly over to the bridge and fall off the plane, and will be on the Golden Gate Bridge, where they can then access and use Pack-a-Punch once again. If they ever want to return, they repeat the same process as before with the fuel canisters. Otherwise, that's all there is to this video. I hope you guys found it useful. If you need another guide to Mob of the Dead or any other zombies map, I've linked those down in the description as well as the pinned comment. Otherwise, I'll see you all in the next video.